The Retrosheet project is a huge resource for anyone interested in baseball statistics. As you can see, the main goal of Retrosheet is to computerize accounts of as many Major League Baseball games as possible at the level of play-by-play. The data are freely available for download, and if we take a look at the types of data, you can download play-by-play files, which of course will be very large. You can also download game logs. Game logs represent summaries of individual games. So each row in one of these data sets represents a single game. And as we will see, there are lots of types of information available in different columns. And finally, you can download schedules as played for a particular year. What we're going to do is to use the game logs download link. And you can see that the game logs are arranged by year. So simply by clicking on a year of interest, a CSV formatted file will be downloaded to your desktop. The problem with these data sets is that there is no header row. What I've done in the past for use with these data sets in RStudio is to make a vector of all the different column names and simply append that with the call names command. If we take a look here, the guide to Retrosheet game logs, we'll see that there are actually 161 different columns. And you can see date is provided, the number of games, the visiting team. As we continue down, is information on attendance, on the batting statistics of the visiting team, the batting statistics of the home team, similarly the pitching statistics, defensive statistics, umpires. So lots and lots of information that's available. So to get the header rows in one of these data frames took a little bit of work, but not anymore, because now in RStudio there is an easy way to import Retrosheet data. So let's go into RStudio. And the package that we want to be using is called Retrosheet. So if you don't have that package, then run this command to install it, and then we're going to load it into our session of R with the require command or the library command. Let's go to packages and click on Retrosheet, look at the help file. As we scroll down, there's a command that we're going to be using called get Retrosheet. So we'll click on that, and there are 4 kinds of data sets that you can download with the get Retrosheet command. The game values, and this represents the game log, and that's what we'll be using. Players, the play-by-play list. Roster would be, of course, the roster of the particular teams of interest, and schedule would be the game schedules for a given year. So we're going to be using the play option here. So I simply am going to set up a new data frame. I'm calling it RS 2009, Retrosheet 2009, and I issue my get Retrosheet command, and I stipulate that I want game as the type of value, and I specify the year. So I run this command, and up in my global environment window, my new data frame will appear, and you can see that there are 2,430 observations. Those correspond to the individual games that were played during the year 2009. So that's 162 games for 30 different teams. And you can see that I've got those 161 variables there. Well, the nice thing about the Retrosheet package is that when you download a game log, then the column names are provided, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Visiting team, visiting home run, home team sacrifice flies, the name of the umpire in left field, and so forth. So it's pretty straightforward to know what any individual column is going to be designating. What I want to do is to download a couple more years worth of data. So I'm going to download the 2010 and 2011 data sets as well. and they will appear again in the global environment window. And so we've got 2,430 for the 2010 year, and one fewer game was played in 2011. I suppose a game that was rained out that was not of consequence in terms of standing, so it was not played. So what I want to do is to combine these three data frames into a single data frame. And I'm going to call my combined data frame RSCOM, and I'm just going to use the rbind command to join those three data frames together. So when I run that, RS combined has 7,289 rows corresponding to the total of the number of games played in those 3 years. One of the really valuable columns of data is the date column. And let's take a look at the date column. Look at just the first 6 values, and instead of looking at the whole data frame, I'm just going to call the date column. And if we look down here in the console, we can see the 6 dates. So the dates are represented with an 8-digit number. The first 4 digits are the year, the next 2 digits are the month, and the final 2 digits are the day. What I might like to do in an analysis is to extract the year or the month or the day from that particular date column. And doing that is easy with the aid of a package called lubridate. So we want to make sure that the lubridate package is installed, and then we want to load it. And it's very straightforward. So what I'm going to do is to extract from the date column the year. So I'm setting up a new column in my data frame called year, and here are the commands from lubridate that we're going to be using. We need to specify the column from which we're going to extract the year, and that's the RSCOM $date. And then I need to let lubridate know the format of date, and it is in the year, month, date format. So 4 columns for year, the next 2 columns for month, the final 2 columns for day. And then I just indicate to lubridate that I want to extract year. So we'll run that command. And you see up here in the global environment that I've added a new variable. And if we take a look at the head of RSCOM, then my new column is here. So I've extracted 2009, or whatever the appropriate year is, for every row. I can also extract month, and I do that in a similar way. I'm actually going to extract month in 3 different ways. And the first way is to extract month as a number. So I'm going to call this new column month.num, and I have basically the same format used above. I specify the format of the column I'm going to extract from. So YMD is the format for date, and then I just want to extract month. And when I run that, what lubridate will do is to extract month as a number. So we'll run ahead on that, and we can see that month num is here, and so April would be designated by a 4. But I might want to use characters for representation of months rather than a number. And I can do that. I'm going to first do month.abb. So I'm going to extract month again. And this time I'm adding label equals true. So the label means to replace the number with the 3-letter abbreviation for month. So we can run that. And it might be that I would prefer to have the month spelled out entirely. So instead of having MAR for March, I would spell out March. If I want to do that, I simply set abbreviation to false. So let's run both of these at once. And we'll take a look at the head of RSCOM. And you can see that I have month designated as a 4, or as a 3-letter abbreviation, or as the full name. Now that we have that information, let's use the power of ggplot to explore some of the data in our data frame for those 3 Major League Baseball years. First, I'm going to look at the visiting runs and how that varies according to month. So I'm going to call ggplot. RScom is the data frame I'm using. My aesthetic, the data that I'm going to plot are visitor runs. I'm going to use the histogram as my geome, and I'm going to use faceting to break out the data by month. I'm going to use the month.abb. So we'll run this command, and there we have it. Of course, most Major League Baseball games are played between April and September, but occasionally there are games played in October, regular season games, and sometimes in late March. What I've done here is to combine the data for the 3 years. So what we have here are the visiting team hits for April in all the years 2009, 10, and 11, and similarly for May and so forth. So very useful way to look at visiting runs broken out by month, because I was able to extract month from the date column in using lubridate. Let's look at a different one. This time we're going to look at the number of hits by the visiting team for each game. And what I'm going to do is to use a box plot, and I'm going to break out the box plot by month. I'm going to use month.abb. So the geome that I use is box plot, and this time I'm going to facet by year. So I'm going to break out the 3 different years in my graphic. So there we have it. So I've got every one of my months is represented in chronological order along the x-axis. There's my box plot with the outliers there. And I've broken it out in 2009, 2010, and 2011. But I can improve the look of this graphic by using a lot of the commands that are available in ggplot to fine-tune a graphic. So let's do a couple of those. I don't really like the gray background, so I'm going to make that light colored. So I'm going to change the theme to black and white. I'm going to give the y-axis label a better label. Instead of VisH, I'm going to call it Visiting Team Hits. Instead of month.abb, I'm going to call that month using the xlab command. And you'll also note that I wanted to add a little bit of color to the graph, and what I'm going to do is to fill in the different months with a month-specific color. So within the aesthetic line here, I'm using fill equals month.abb. So let's just run what we have here. And so that is a little more aesthetically pleasing to me. And what we have over here, this legend, which we really don't need. It's obvious what the different colors mean because they are all related to the values on the x-axis here. So we might want to just get rid of that legend. And we can do that by using the theme command, and we simply use the legend.position function, and we set that to none. So there it goes. So now that's a pretty nice looking graphic. But one thing that I want to point out is that about 10% of males are colorblind. So they have difficulty distinguishing particular colors. And about 1% of women are colorblind. So there's a significant minority of one's readers that are going to be unable to see colors as well as a person with normal color vision. So what I prefer to do as a colorblind person is to use a colorblind friendly palette. And what I've done here is to set up such a palette. I call it CB palette, colorblind palette. So we're going to run that, and it shows up in my global environment window as a value. As a colorblind person, I have difficulty distinguishing these 2 colors, these 2 colors, and these 2 colors. So what I want to do is to choose colors that are much more easy to discern. And I can do that by using the scale fill command, so the scale fill manual command. So what I'm going to do is to manually set the values of the color. And I've already stipulated what those colors are. In my CB palette here, I have stipulated 8 different colors. I only need 7 here, so it's going to take the first 7 that I stipulate. So let's do that. Run this whole command. And there we have a final graphic, and we can zoom in to look at it in a little more detail. So that's a very pleasing graphic. It has lots of information. We can see how the median number of visiting team hits varies over the course of months, and we can compare years 2009, 2010, 2011. We can look at the variation, the 75th percentile to the 25th percentile here, number of outliers, and so forth. So this graph is made possible by using the tremendous amount of information available in Retrosheet and then using lubridate to extract components of date that allow us to facet by month or by year.